we go to Seth Rollins backstage with the rest of the Authority, and of course Randy Orton does show up as promised. Pretty much Stephanie is trying to goad, Orton into the same thing she was trying to do in the ring, joining forces. Seth seems hesitant. His body language is just totally tense. Like, what's going on? I thought it was all about me. What's happening? And he even, vocalizes, how do we know that we can really trust him again? And Stephanie's like, now, don't be like that. If Randy Orton can put, behind him what you did to him and your whole plan, and Rollins is like, my whole plan? So that was a nice little tease of maybe some tension there. And she says, well, then you can check your pride at the door and you guys can come together. So Randy, can you do this? He extends his hand, him and Rollins shake, much to my kind of surprise. And then a tag match is made, Randy Orton and Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns for the main event tonight. So that's pretty much that business conference. So I'd say for the Authority, it went pretty well.
Yeah, I dig it. It was, I don't know. I just don't like that Randy is, even if it's the long con, which I can understand, it most likely is, I just hate it when somebody stops doing something that makes them over for the sake of trying to play the long con. Like, I get that it probably is going to work, but just for now, I'm salty about it.
I just really wanted the Randy Orton, that same kind of Randy Orton who brought the energy in that one promo where he's like, you got a heck of a finish.
You got a heck of a finish, kid. Yeah, I'm still seeing stars. It was so good.
Yeah, like that high-intensity Randy Orton, that's who I was really hoping to see kind of pursue and go on a manhunt for Seth Rollins. But I can appreciate a good long con, so we'll see where this goes. But, that aside, we then go to the primetime players versus the Ascension. It's worth noting the Ascension do have kind of a screen-and-screen promo where they make fun of the Bushwhackers, saying, they wouldn't last 4 minutes in the ring with a team like us. So, they're just continuing that whole shtick of burying, quote-unquote, legendary tag teams. And so, we have our matchup. I guess an all-right matchup, nothing really worth noting. But, I mean, the primetime players do get the upset victory. Here I'm thinking that the Ascension is going to, continue their steamroll, but I guess the WWE just felt the need with the primetime players getting back together. They wanted to re-legitimize them right away. So Young gets the cradle on Victor just out of nowhere, and he gets the victory. So the Ascension have now suffered their first loss. I know people could probably be salty about this, and I could understand it to a degree, but I think it's, for me, I'm going to go the route of what we say about a Baron Corbin. I'm glad they got their loss out of the way early.
Yes.
So now we could just focus on them really becoming the tag team champions that I'm still convinced may happen at WrestleMania.
Right. To me, this is the one of the few, I should say, examples where the WWE's tendency to use this even Steven booking style where everyone has to look the same coming out of it actually worked. Because not only did the primetime players get that win, but the Ascension absolutely destroyed them afterwards and proved that they didn't lose because they were the worst team. They lost due to a fluke. And I love that.
I absolutely agree with you. It was great to see the Ascension assert their dominance post-match. I think that's how you handle a heel tag team in a moment like this. And at the same time, you've reintegrated the primetime players as viable contenders in the picture, because it is a very interesting picture right now considering who the champions are and everything else. So I like that. So we go from that to Roman Reigns having his segment. He comes out, and it is a huge pop. Me and Ashton both kind of remarked how the crowd really seemed receptive to Roman Reigns here. I know a lot of people would seem to disagree and be like, oh, I heard boos. I'm sorry, guys. To me, Roman is over. There's no other word for it.
Absolutely, dude. It was that initial, when his music hit, that crowd erupted.
Absolutely. So he comes out, he gets this reception. He says, man, it's been one hell of a month. And then he starts going through that month. And then he goes on to say, to all of my doubters, because I know a lot of you were rooting for the other guy in reference to his match, last night against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. But then Daniel Bryan comes out. And Bryan, kind of plays the devil's advocate here, but I think it's with a purpose. He says, look, I personally believe that you earned your spot to go to WrestleMania and face Brock Lesnar, but the more I thought about it, the more I booed inside, the more that I was with these people, and I understood these people, because you're big, you're strong, you're all that, and yet there are so many guys, in the back that are like that, but they don't have the same heart that I do. So I guess Bryan's kind of expressing like this resentment he had towards Reigns. And then he said, well, when we got to Fastlane, and I did everything, I gave everything that I had, but you still beat me, and you proved me wrong. You proved that you had more heart than even I did. So I just wanted to say to you, congratulations. And one more thing, beat the crap out of Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So almost like a reiteration of what he did last night in the post-match of their match at Fastlane.
Yeah, but a lot of people, like, I personally, if you wouldn't have told me what he said, I wouldn't have known what he said.
Right.
So I'm one of many people that wouldn't have known what he said to Roman Reigns because there wasn't a mic in front of his face.
Right.
So this was them kind of fixing that little conundrum.
So yeah, Daniel Bryan, continuing his job of really making Roman Reigns seem like, it's his time. He's on the cusp of crossing that threshold into greatness, so to speak. And he leaves to let, Roman, I guess, resume what he was doing. But it's short-lived because as Bryan exits, Heyman enters. And you know what? I'm going to give it to you, Ashton, because I know you were like actively remarking while we were watching this that you were loving what Heyman was doing here. So I'm going to give you the ball on this one.
Man, before we actually talk about Heyman, I wanted to ask you your opinion on the Bryan thing. What did you think about the whole Bryan sort of giving Reigns that nod? What did you think of that?
I liked it. I thought it was brilliantly done. It was interesting how it started because I didn't know if Bryan was going to be really salty and have sour grapes, and if that was going to kind of, hint at a personality shift. I don't want to say full-blown heel turn, but I don't know. But then what it became, I thought was really cool. I know a lot of people are upset. Bryan's got no place at WrestleMania right now, and he'll probably face Sheamus. But to me, especially if Lesnar's sticking around, or even if he doesn't, I don't think this story with Bryan, Reigns, and all these other things is over. It's just kind of on a pause right now because we need to take care of Roman Reigns. So I liked what Bryan did here.
Okay, and then we get to Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman is a genius, first of all. A wordsmith, second of all. And one of the very few people that can turn even the most hardcore anti-Reigns circle jerkers into somebody that has interest in the match.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on all counts. He did wonderful.
This was a miracle worker right here. He comes out and I love the whole spiel that he went on about how I would put my money on Roman Reigns. He said, you against 1975 Bruno Sammartino or 1987 Hulk Hogan and the Andre the Giant, he said. And then, what was it? 1998 Stone Cold Steve Austin, 99 The Rock, 2000 Triple H. And then he said about how he would against John Cena at any point over the last 13 years, and he would put his money on Reigns. I just love the amount of credit that Heyman gave Reigns right before pulling the rug out underneath him.
Yeah, and see, that was my thing and the real brilliance of the promo, because so many people, again, I saw, like, a lot of times it's like, wow, Heyman is really putting Roman Reigns over. This seems really, really forced. But to me, and I guess I could understand that to a point, but to me what it was really
if it would have been Daniel Bryan, they would have loved it.
Yeah,
That's my thing. You have to look at this as if the roles were reversed. If it was Bryan receiving all this praise and Reigns said that you had more heart than me last night, everyone would have lost their crap. They would have been like, oh my God, yes, you're darn right he did. Reigns, you suck. Bryan's awesome. And then Heyman comes out and he says, oh yeah, you would have beaten Sammartino in 75 and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Bryan's the best technical wrestler of all time. He totally would have, but it's Roman Reigns. So automatically now people are talking about how, oh man, I really wish I thought this was a PG show. I didn't know that they were going to allow a public blowjob to happen on television.
Yeah, and I certainly have to concede that to you. By the way, that was a great line there. But more importantly, I don't even really think for me, and this is where I saw the brilliance of the promo, this wasn't about Roman Reigns. I mean, it was, but it wasn't in the context that people were thinking.
Yeah, that's the thing. With what Paul Heyman was saying, you could insert literally any babyface in the last 20 years into that spot, and it would have fit, and Heyman still would have been able to get his point across.
And not only that, Ashton, but here's what it ultimately comes down to, right? He was saying that Roman Reigns is this exemplary model among human beings. Because then he talks about Brock Lesnar and he refers to Lesnar as a beast. Roman Reigns may be the best among men, but that's not good enough to beat a beast.
Right.
And that was the point Heyman was making, and that's what makes it so brilliant. Because it wasn't necessarily, to me, it wasn't saying just that Roman Reigns, you're better than all of these guys from all of these eras. Brock Lesnar is better than them all, because he is just unstoppable. And that was the money in this promo. Heyman is so good, and I liked Reigns' rebuttal, but I wanted just a little bit more fire. But I think that's going to come when Lesnar gets actively involved. Because he's just like, Paul, I want you to stand right here. What are you doing standing over there? Stand right here. I guess he wanted direct eye contact with Heyman. And he says, tell me again. Tell me that I can't do it, because everybody's been telling me I can't, and it's motivation to me, and it gets my Samoan blood to a boil. That's the only reason I confronted Brock Lesnar. I told him that he'll respect me. It was about the mind games. It was about getting myself ready. And he said, but it's not really about respect. Respect goes out the window, because when I'm done with Brock Lesnar, when I'm through with him at WrestleMania, he's not going to like me anyways. Believe that. So Roman Reigns remains unshaken. But man, can Paul Heyman sell a matchup. What a freaking promoter.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I don't really get what Reigns was going, like, where he was going with that he wasn't going to like me anyway line.
Yeah, that was a bit confusing.
I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Like, maybe like if Lesnar at one point would have said something like, I like you, but I don't respect you, I could have gotten that, and if they would have really picked up on that, it would have been cool. But I don't remember him saying that.
Yeah, it would have been, I would have even taken if he said he's not gonna respect me anyway when I'm done with him, because he just got beaten so bad.
No, but the whole idea that he said he's not gonna something me anyway when I get done with, like, if he wanted to say that, it would have required Lesnar to say that he doesn't. See, no, or that he does. Not that he doesn't, that he does. Like, Lesnar would have had to say, I respect you, in order for Reigns to say he wasn't going to respect me anyway. So, to me, like, they could have pulled it off if... I'm trying to remember, during that sit-down interview, did Lesnar say, I like you, but I don't respect you to Reigns?
No, he didn't even say that.
Because if he would have said that, then this promo would have been perfect. But the fact that he didn't say that made this promo just flat out awkward.
Yeah, what Lesnar did say was, unlike him referring to Heyman, I don't respect you. And then Reigns got up and he said, but you will. So Lesnar was giving him like totally the cold shoulder, no respect whatsoever, and just, being Brock Lesnar. So yeah, I could see the disconnect that you felt with this promo, because I kind of got the same vibe. But, again, I'm looking more forward to the face-to-face interactions between Lesnar and Reigns. That is going to be where I think Reigns really will have to step up and shine. But I think he's been doing fine. The crowd, again, is definitely very receptive to him, regardless of what anybody's saying. Go back and listen to that initial pop, and then tell me with a straight face that he is not being received well. And, again, guys, wherever Bryan ends up, it's not going to be the end for him in these kinds of roles. And like I said the one time a little while back, just be grateful that he is going to be at WrestleMania. Just enjoy it, guys, seriously. But with that said, we go from that